Good morning, traders. Welcome to another trading week. Please, if you can hear me and you can see my screen, please let me know. If you can hear me and you can see my screen, please do let me know. If you can hear me and my screen is up, let me know. Let me know in the comment section if you can hear me and my screen is up. Please let me know before we proceed. Okay. So is my screen also up? Let me also know, please. Yes, the audio is confirmed. What about my screen? Is my screen up? Before we proceed, please. Is my screen up? Okay, yeah, my screen is up. Okay, thank you. So, good morning, traders, once again, and welcome to another weekly market breakdown with the smart candles. So, as usual, basically what we'll do here is what we'll trade smart money concept. And with the aid of smart money concept or strategy, that's what we'll be using to what break down the market as we always do. Usually we do gather here every Monday, but because of some issues yesterday, we were not able to meet, so it was moved to this morning. So thank you for your time and thank you for showing up. So let's go straight into today's work. So we're starting with Bitcoin as usual. Bitcoin. So this is Bitcoin chart. So we'll go down to the daily to actually see the daily buyers and what the market is telling us from the daily time frame. For those that be actively trading within this week, let me say since last week until yesterday, you can actually see that Bitcoin has been on an impulsive upside. And it has been very, very bullish, creating what another new all-time high. So we'll be looking at the chart this morning to actually see what the market is telling us and if we'll have possible trade entries for this morning. And you can see we now have a new all-time high for Bitcoin at $126,000, $126,246. So let's just say $126,000. That's a new all-time high for Bitcoin from what we are seeing on the chart. So we'll just go straight to the chart to actually see the exact market structure on Bitcoin. Okay, so here on Bitcoin chart on the daily time frame, we can see we have what this low. We have this low here. We want to mark out our trading range first, and this high. This is our trading range. So whatever we are doing in this range, we are actually looking for a buy or sell within this high and this low. So first, you can see this was the previous high we had on Bitcoin. At this point, this was what the previous high, and this high has been taken out. So on the daily, let's see if it was a break of structure or just market sweep of liquidity. So this on the daily time frame here, you can see. Okay, so this on the daily time frame, we can see that we actually broke market structure. We actually broke market structure to the upside. So on the daily, we are bullish. we are bullish. So let's step down to the 4 hours time frame to actually see what the 4 hours is saying, so we can actually get a more precise entry. So looking at from the range we mark, this was the low we marked. So looking at from this low all the way to this point, that's basically what we'll be looking at for to actually get our trade entry. So on the 4 hours, on these 4 hours, this was the last internal internal high we had. So at this point we had our change of character. So we had a change of character at that point. Let's get to step down to the 1 hour or 2 hours. Okay. So this is the change of character we had on on the 4 hours. So on the 1 hour, we have we have a break of structure here. We have another break of structure here. Another break of structure here. I want us to do this together in picking our zone. We have another break of structure here. And we have this break of structure here. Okay, so we'll be using just 3 concepts in actually picking the zone we actually want to take our trade from this morning. So first, what we'll be working with, number one, is we'll be making use of momentum. That's where we had the last impulsive movement. Then we'll be making use of fair value gap. Then the zone we actually want to pick, we must make sure that there is an inducement before that zone. So let's get to pick the zone together now. So if we look at this first zone, this was an impulsive move at this other zone, because this was where we had the last break of structure here. This low is what actually gave us the last break of structure at this point. So this was where we had the last impulsive move, and at this point this fair value gap has already been filled. This fair value gap has already been filled, so we can't actually look for trade setup at this point. Now this will now serve as our inducement. This will serve as our inducement. So where is the order block we'll actually be waiting for to actually take out the BTC buy on the 1 hour, this point. So if you look at this point, you can see that we have this inducement and we have this momentum. You can see this momentum, it's bolder, like it's impulsive at this point. You can see we have a fair value gap at this point, and we have this inducement at this point. So this kind of validates this setup for this buy to actually be a potential profitable trade to actually look out for. And if this zone is violated, then we will look out for more reasons to actually look out for sell to the downside. Now you have another thing to actually use to actually validate this trade. You can put your trend line this way, and if you put your trend line this way, what do you see? This is what trend line liquidity. Trend line liquidity. So you can see this is also what trend line liquidity, meaning what we have more reasons for this. And you can see 1, 2, and this is the third touch. And if you're trading trend line on the third touch, you expect the market to actually break. So we want to see this price come back to this zone, then possibly come back to this high. So that is our anticipation on BTC. So we'll be putting our buy order at this point. We'll have our buy order here. So as usual, always go for 1:3. So this is a 1:3. And if you want to get the coordinate for this trade, our entry is, you can see the entry. Our entry is 120058.78. We have our stop loss at 118698.09. Then I take profit at 124126.29. You can actually extend your take profit if you want to this point, but basically all I trade is 1:3. And if you're targeting this point, this is like 4.5. So you can actually decide if you want to continue the ride to the upside, but 1:3. 1:3 is actually what? A good ride for me. So I'm okay with 1:3. So this is what we have on BTC. I believe this is clear and okay. And if you feel there is something you're saying different or something you want to point out, please let me know in the comment section. But this is my bias on BTC on the 1 hour time frame. You can see that we are bullish on the daily. We're also bullish on the 4 hours. So we should be looking out for what? Buys. We should be looking out for buys throughout this week till that point is violated. Okay, we'll be moving to gold. Let's move to gold and actually see what we have on gold this morning. I think BTC and gold has actually been very, very bullish. Okay. So we are here on gold daily time frame. So this is gold daily time frame. And as you can see, we've been printing what? More breakout structures to the upside on gold on the daily time frame. So on this daily time frame, we are bullish. So next thing we will want to look at for is what was the 4 hours actually telling us on gold. What was the 4 hours telling us? So looking at the 4 hours, where is the last breakout structure? This is the last breakout structure we have to the upside. So that's the last breakout structure on the 4 hours. But I'm seeing this as an inducement on the 4 hours. But let's step down to the 1 hour to actually what? Get that point clear. Because you have to kind of use multi-time frame analysis to actually what? For you to come to a conclusion on your bias. Okay. So this is what we have on the 1 hour, and we can see what this is the origin of this move to this point. So we'll actually be looking at for, are we taking a buy or are we taking a sell? I can see what this other block at this point, but this is what is already what efficient already. So there's no point looking for buys at this point. We have this point. We can actually take a buy from this point. So if you're looking for a buy, this is the point we should be looking at for this buy. We have this zone sitting here. And why are we actually going with this zone? We are going with this zone because this is where we have the last impulsive move from, and there's a fair value gap at this point. You can see there's a fair value gap. So this other block here will serve as what? Our inducement. So for us to actually take this trade, we'll have to step down to the 15 minutes. We'll have to step down to the 15 minutes to actually see what that zone looks like. So this is what we have on the 15 minutes. So this is what we have on the 15 minutes. So we actually want to see this price push all the way down to the zone we've already marked. So when this price returns to this zone, this is what we want to see. So we want to see this confirmation that price is actually what? Bullish. Then come back to any given order block that will be presented within this zone. Then we'll continue this price to the upside. So this is what the 15 minutes looks like. Let's check if this also aligns with the 30 minutes. So you can see on the 30 minutes, that's a perfect zone to actually take the trade from. So you can decide to go in aggressively if that's your method of trading, but this is the other block we actually want to see this both push into, and the target should be like, we should be aiming to clear this high. We should be aiming to actually clear this line. So this should be our first target before thinking of maybe climbing all the way to 4,000 or thereabouts. So this should be our target. This should be our target on good. At least the last high. All right. So let's check out for the JPY pairs. I think I was opportune to actually check the JPY pairs yesterday, and the gap on those pairs is crazy. All right, USD JPY. So checking from the daily. So here on the daily, let's look for the origin of this point first. So on the daily time frame, we've confirmed that what we are coming from a bullish zone. We are coming from a bullish zone, and what can you say at this point? You're already having relative equal highs, which tells you that liquidity is sitting at this point. Liquidity is sitting at this point. So for us to have liquidity sitting at that point, this tells us we have more reason to push this price to the upside. And since we have more reasons to push this price to the upside, we should be looking out for buys, just like what I explained during the last live section. So if you're looking out for any sell, it should be maybe a temporary sell on the smaller time frame, but on the daily time frame, this pair is bullish because we just grabbed all of this liquidity below this point. Look at, we had this liquidity soup with this single candle. This liquidity was actually taken out, giving us confirmation to continue buying. And on the daily, you see we had this break to the upside, which confirms that the market is bullish. Now on the daily, the market came back to test this daily order block. So let's look out for 4 hours and 1 hour to actually see if we can actually have any good entry. So on the daily time frame, what can you see? This is what we have on the 4 hours. This was the 4 hours order block, and price has actually mitigated this 4 hours and to the upside. Due to this gap, we don't have enough data to actually look out for any buy or sell within this point, because I can see that we have a break of structure. We have a break of structure at this point, and after having that break of structure, we're supposed to look for the nearest order block. So let's step down to the 1 hour to actually see if we can find something we can actually work with. All right, so this is the break of structure. On the 1 hour, we're having another break of structure to the upside, leaving us with a zone within this point. But we can't actually work with this zone because there is not enough information to actually take any trade from this zone. There's no point trying to rush after the market if you don't see your criteria, or this setup doesn't meet your trading criteria. There is no point. I think the last live section we had, we actually were looking at for this zone, that if we have presence of inducement before this zone, we're going to take a buy. For those that actually listen properly during the last was it the last week? Yes, last week live section. For those actually listening, this was the zone we're actually looking at for on the 1 hour, and we said we'll only take trade when price comes to this zone. Let me get to mark it. We'll only take trade at this zone if we have an engineered liquidity before this zone. But you can see there was no engineered liquidity, and for those on the Telegram group, they know I didn't call this buy setup out because what this trending actually meet our trading conditions. So that's one thing when you actually have lay down conditions for your trade, or lay down principles, or confluences you actually want to use to actually meet up with your trade. So there was no trade for us last week on this particular pair. Now coming to this week, we have this point, but you can't actually trade from this zone because there is not enough information. There is no fair value gap. The only thing we have at this point is what we have, this break of structure at this point. And as you can see again, if you look closely, you can see we're having another break of structure. If this candle successfully close bullish, if this candle closes bullish, then this will be another break of structure. So for now, we don't have any trades set up on USD JPY. We don't have any trades set up on USD JPY. So we actually want to see what happens within this zone before we actually look out for trade setup. But due to this gap we have here, we can't actually tell what we want to expect at this point. But I can see the last order block we are having at this point. We have this other block. We have this other block, and I can see this, my liquidity resting at this point. So having this liquidity resting at this point, I actually want to see either this gap being filled up, because that's what actually happens when you have news event or you have gaps on the market. When you have gaps on the market, that is what you actually want to see. You want to see price come back to fill all of these gaps. So we'll actually be waiting for price confirmation at this point to see what price will do at this point. And if this point fails, then we'll actually want to see price come back to fill all of this gap. So you have to be very, very careful if you're taking trades on JPY, on USD JPY, because we have this gap, we have this liquidity resting here, and we have this fair value gap. With these stuffs I just mentioned, and this tells you that we have more high probability setups sitting at this other block. But that will be in respect to what happened within this point to the upside, and that is what will actually give us reason to buy, or a reason to actually look for sell setup. All right, so if this is actually understood, then we'll move over to Ethereum. Let's move over to Ethereum. Okay, so for the fact that BTC is bullish, that tells you that the crypto market should be should be bullish. Okay, so on the daily time frame, this is the low. And we have this high we are trying to target. So why am I marking this point? This tells you that we have liquidity resting at this point, and this is the low that if price comes back, it should be taken out, and this high, if price is bullish, it should be taken out. So this is our trading range. So on the daily, this was the last low. Yeah. This was the last low. And we had a change of character, which confirms there was market change of character. We should be expecting sell before the market turn bullish again. So for now, we want to see this high taken out. Because we have this liquidity resting at this point. So let's step down to the 4 hours to actually understand what the price is doing. Okay, so let me zoom this out. So you can see we had a change of character at this point, and this is the low and this is the high. So we actually looking at to actually clear this first high. This is the first high we want to actually clear. We want to take out this high and possibly what, take out this one, and this is what our point of liquidity. So we are trading to actually clear this high if market remains bullish. So let's step down to the 1 hour to actually get our entries. All right. So here on the 1 hour, time frame, looking at the most recent structure we have, what can we see here? We have what, our breaker structure. We have our breaker structure, and that is the last breaker structure we have. To the upside, we have another breaker structure. To the upside, we have a breaker structure at that point. I can also see what, this point, which was also what, taken out. So looking at this other block, we have here within this point, we can't actually what, say we want to look out for any other block within this point, because we have all of this liquidity resting below this point. Why that high you mark, chief, and not the liquidity owned for a change of character? And what's weird? That I really don't understand that, BS. Clinton, I don't know. Is it on the Ethereum you are talking about, or which pair you're actually talking about? Let me know. Which pair? Is it on the Ethereum or which one? Clinton, I'm waiting for your addition. Is it on the Ethereum you're talking about, or on the BTC? Okay, on the Ethereum, the daily time frame. Okay. All right. So, is it this high you're talking about, or this other one above? Which one are you talking about? This one or this one? Let me change this to red. So let me actually know which one you're talking about. Is it the red one or this one? Okay, I think maybe you're not active. So let's proceed with what I was actually explaining. Okay, the red one. Oh, the red one. Yeah, this is a liquidity point now. The red one is actually a liquidity point that we actually want to see the price take out. That is it. This is what this thing. You want to see liquidity actually what? Okay, your network is slow, sorry. So we actually want to see this point taken out, if because this has already cleared, this has already taken out what? Liquidity to the downside. So if you've actually cleared liquidity in the opposite direction and market is not trading to the next direction, you actually want to see what? Price take out this point. That's what we actually want to see, for this price to actually what? Continue to the upside. That's it. So At this point, this is your liquidity and this is your liquidity. So if price is bullish, it will continue to the upside. So let's go down to the 1 hour to actually see. Okay, so on the 1 hour now. Okay, yeah. So on the 1 hour, so on the 1 hour, we have this other block. We have this other block sitting here. We have this other block sitting here. And if we actually want to, so it's kind of like showing that the blue one is the high and the low one is the liquidity that was swept. That's the high. Okay, Clinton, I think you can text me on WhatsApp so that I will actually understand what you're saying. Maybe yes, Victor, yes. This is Ethereum chart. So this is the 1 hour. This is 1 hour order block, but this will only be valid if we have some sort of inducement. But when you have this type of order block, on your chart, this is what usually happens, and you have liquidity below. Look at what will happen on. Let me get to mark something on the 4 hours so you get to actually understand. So this is what will happen. Now on the 4 hours, you can see this is why I said this is a liquidity point, Clinton. So if you look at this point here, look at it. You have the descending trend line and it's liquidity. You can see. So this is liquidity we are trading into. So we have to take this out. We have to take this out. And we have to also take this out. So if you look at this 4 hours order block here now, look at this. And you have this liquidity below here. So this is what you possibly have, something like this cleared at this other low, and price will actually maybe continue to the upside. That's what happens when you have this kind of range and you have liquidity below the other block. So market will actually tilt down, clear the liquidity before tilting to the upside. And that is why I'm saying this order block, it's invalid. So if you're looking for something to actually take our trade from, we should be looking for something within this range. This is what we should be looking at for the price to actually use this as liquidity, use this point as our liquidity, then come back into this point for us to actually look at for buys. You can maybe from your end get to monitor this chart and see what happens. I think we had something like that. Previously. Okay, let me show you an example here. Look at this. Was it last month live section when we had Ethereum within this zone? And I was like, this point is not any other block for you to actually take your trade from. You don't need to take your trade from this because this is a liquidity point that we actually want to see market clear and come back to within this zone, somewhere within this zone. And you can see that is what actually happened. Price came back, took out this and came back into this zone before reacting to the upside. So if you're actually looking at for possible buys on Ethereum, you actually want to see price clear this low here. We want to see price clear and come back into this zone for us to actually look out for more buys. When you understand the whole liquidity concept, it will actually help you to understand your buyers and why you should trade from that zone or not. So that is it for Ethereum. So I believe this is well understood, and if maybe you have any further question, you can ask in the comment section. And for those that have my WhatsApp number, you can maybe text me to actually understand what I was kind of explaining. So you can see it on the 1 hour. So this is a liquidity point. We expect market to actually clear it. expect market to actually clear it. So let's look at GBP JPY. So looking at GBP JPY on the daily time frame, we can see that we're also bullish as we've been expecting. All right, so from the last live section, I said we had what? All of this as relative equal what? Equal highs. I want to see price take out these highs. That's one thing you have to do when you come to your chart. Mark your relative equal lows and mark your relative equal highs. At that point, you already know where the next movement should be heading to. And in that way, it's easier for you to actually understand your daily bias. For those that maybe don't understand daily bias, I dropped a video on daily bias on Saturday, so you can actually check it out. It's well explained from weekly, daily, down to your 1 hour entry. So from the daily, you're already seeing that what this is a bullish move, because what you have this high. And having this high and having this relative equal what highs, this tells you that what price should be able to take out this point and continue to the upside because of what this relative equal what highs we have. So let's step down to the 4 hours to actually what get trading opportunity. So on the 4 hours, the same thing we're also having on USD JPY. On this same pair, we're having this huge gap in the market. So as you can see, all of this liquidity we had here has been what? Has been taken out. All of this has been taken out. All of this has also been taken out. As I also explained in the video, in the last live section, we stated that what we were expecting market to actually what clear what this low, because of what we had this trend line liquidity and we had all of this liquidity. There's no point trying to force other block where there is no other block. There is no point. And market, what did market do? Market actually came back, tapped into this other block we marked last week, and what continued to the downside. So now we've actually what cleared this liquidity that was sitting below this low. So price has already what responded to the upside. So where is the other block we're actually looking at for from the 4 hours? So from the 4 hours, we have this other block at this point. We have this other block on the 4 hours, and overall break to the upside at this point. We have this at this point. So let's go down to the 1 hour to actually what see what price is telling us. So on the 1 hour, we'll have to refine this properly. So on the 1 hour, okay, on the 1 hour, this is okay. On the 1 hour, that's okay, because this actually what took out the liquidity before continuing to the upside. So this is the other block, and we also have another other block at this point, but we can't actually what take. All we can do on this particular other block is to observe. On this particular other block, all we have to do is to observe the market, because what there is no inducement yet created. So I'm not actually calling out any trade on this. The only place we have trading opportunities on, I think we have one on Bitcoin, we've already said, and gold on is still far off. So for this, we don't have any trading opportunity to get some form of what engineered liquidity before this zone for us to actually continue to the upside. And we have a bigger target on this pair. We have a bigger target. If you look at it from the daily, we have all of these gaps to actually be filled up. We have all of this to be filled up. So that's the target. If you look to the left hand side, you can see we have this target to be filled up on this pair. So next we'll be looking at is so. Victor, I think you're just joining now because we've done, I think, 2-2. We've done Bitcoin, we've done Ethereum, we've done 3 Forex pair, and now we are going to so to make it 3-3. So that's how we do it. We do one crypto, one Forex, one crypto. Because I know what we have mixed traders. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at so now. Alright, so here on Solana, what can we see? You can see that what we are also bullish on Solana, looking at it from the daily time frame. And where is our target? Let's mark our target first. This is the range we are trading into. And where is the last low for Ethereum? This is the last low. We have this low at this point. So whatever happens within this point on daily till this point is still bullish. That's it from the daily bias. This to this point is still bullish on the daily till this low is violated. That's when you cannot say you're not bearish on the daily. In as much as you're having bearish sentiment, for the fact this low has not been taken out, you're still bullish. So okay, let's go down to the 4 hours. Let's go down to the 4 hours so we can actually look at the most recent price action. Let's get to look at the most recent price action. Okay, so let's look to the left hand side to actually get a supply first. Alright, so looking to the left hand side, we have this supply. We have this supply sitting here. We have this supply sitting there. And I think market has already tapped into it, because if you look at the 4 hours, because the high I marked previously, this was what the high on the daily. So if this is the supply, then we should be expecting what bearish move to the downside. So let's get to look at that. So we have what our change of character at this point. We have our change of character at this point. What can we also see? There is what a fair value gap. There's a fair value gap at that point, which the market has already ran into. The market is already into on the 4 hours on Solana. So what are we going to be looking at for now on the 1 hour? On the 1 hour time frame. So on the 1 hour, we already have a bearish confirmation, giving us a change of character. But price hasn't tapped into these 4 hours. If price has actually tapped into this zone, I would have actually loved this point to actually work as my supply. But this will actually work as my supply. And here's my inducement. Here's my inducement. So since we are expecting price to continue to the upside, to actually continue to the upside. Okay, let me get to explain something to you, Clinton. Now, we have other blocks. And other blocks are what? They are blocks, as the name implies. They are like a zone. It's not like a point. Other blocks are zone, and that's why when you mark them like this, like a range. Now, when you're talking about supply is referring to the point you want to sell from. When you're talking about demand is you are referring to the point you want to buy from. So I can either say, okay, this is my other block. But to make it let me say, without you looking at the chart or actually understanding what I'm actually explaining, that's when I now mention, okay, try to be more like, I narrow it down to calling, okay, my supply and my demand. Now, when you hear supply, it means what? This person is looking for what? Sell opportunity. When you hear demand, it means the person is looking out for what? Buy opportunity. I don't know if that makes sense to you. So that's just it. Other block is still the same thing as your demand. It's still the same thing as your supply and demand. But just that when you're talking about supply, you're talking about, okay, where you want to sell from. When you're talking about demand, you're talking about where you want to buy from. But other block is the general name. So that's it. So looking at this pair, looking at Solana on the 1 hour time frame, let's look if we get to look out for any buy opportunity along the trend, because within this internal price leg to this point, we are what? We are bullish on the 1 hour. So that's what we are looking at for this buy based on, So looking at this point, this has already been mitigated. This has been mitigated. And price has already reacted to the upside. We can also see that what? Price has also mitigated this point and reacted to the upside. At this point, I'm not seeing any fair value gap. So I actually want to see price what? Drop all the way to this point. This is what I want to see. Then this will not serve as what? My liquidity pool. All of this will serve as what? My liquidity pool. So I actually want to see price. If this price continues to the downside, I want to see this reaction, this into this before this. And this demand zone will only be valid if price does not tap into the supply before this. If price taps into this supply, then this is invalid. Remember, this is the overall trend of the market. From the overall on the 4 hours, we are bearish. On the 1 hour, you are bullish. So this is like kind of like you going against the trend. So if this price continues to the upside and taps into the supply, then this other block will not hold. Okay, I don't know. Let me check if we have an example so you get to actually understand what I'm explaining. Okay, now if you look at this point, there was another block here. Now look at this other block. This was where you had the last what? Ranging market before this expansion to the upside. You had your inducement. Market came back to give you another engineered liquidity at this point. Now you are expecting price to come back to this point for you to actually what? For you to actually take a buy. But now the overall trend of the market was bearish. Now by a few pips, this market already what? Missed this point. So if price is coming back to this other block, you have to be very, very careful, because what? Price was already at this supply zone. I don't know if it makes a sense. Price was already at this supply. So for the fact that price was already at this supply, you have to be very, very careful, because if price returns back to this point, it's likely going to fail. But if we had something like this, let's assume something like this price continued to this point, then what? This buy will have been what? Valid. So when you have your overall buyers and you're trying to trade against it, you have to be very, very careful. And if price has already tapped into the major overall buyers zone you're looking at for, then the other zone in opposition, that trade turns what? Invalid. Other blocks and all of this will actually be explained in the class for those that actually register for the class. So there you get to actually understand what I'm trying to explain. So for this scenario now, if this price gets to this zone first, then this other block is invalid. But if this price comes back to this point before heading to this point, then this other block is valid. I think we had a similar example like that last week, maybe last 2 weeks on GU, and I will get to actually what? Let's check GU. I think that will actually give us something where for a better understanding. Okay, let me look out for that. Okay, let me take this out and we get to analyze GU, and I think from there we'll get to actually understand what I'm trying to explain. Alright, so we are here on a GU daily time frame. So here on the daily time frame on GU. So now what can you see on this GU? We have this supply sitting at this point. We have this supply sitting at this point. That's the first thing I want you to actually see. Then this was where you had a change of character. This was where we had a change of character on the 4 hours. Now let's step down to on the daily, sorry. So let's step down to the 4 hours. So you get to actually see if the overall trend has more upper hand compared to the smaller time frame. So this is the daily the daily zone that price actually tapped into. And if you were actually maybe looking at for another block, you'll have been marking as something like this. For some people that don't know how to mark other block, they will go to maybe mark somewhere here. But that is not. But let's say, okay, you wanted to mark the last impulsive one, you'll have been marking something like this. For some persons, I'm just giving an example. And what did you see? When price came to it, what did you see? It failed. Now, if you've actually been joining the live section, you'll see that we've never called at any other block, any buy order on GU within this zone. Because we already considered this point as point of liquidity. This was already given as point of liquidity. You can go back to maybe watch last week and last 2 weeks and 3 weeks zone, what we actually mark on GU. And we said we want to actually see price come back to this point if we should be looking out for buys. Now let's get to analyze GU for today. So here on the 1 hour time frame on GU, our last week buyer still holds because price is yet to actually mitigate this zone. So let me take this off and we'll get to look at what GU is giving to us for today. So overall, we are bearish on GU. Price has already tapped into higher time frame zone on the daily time frame. So we should be looking at for more sell opportunity. Okay, so looking at this trade, we have a change of character at this point, because this was where we had the last push to the upside. We have a change of character at this point. We have a break of structure. We have a break of structure at this point. We have a break of structure at this point. We have another break to the downside. We have another break to the downside. And as of last week, we had this zone when it was yet to be mitigated, and I said something concerning this particular zone because this is the mistakes that a lot of persons get to make when they actually were looking at their break of structures or change of character. Now, for the fact you had this break to the downside, a lot of persons feel they want to actually see price come back to this point and continue to the downside. No. If you don't have any form of engineered liquidity before this point, then that other block is invalid. See, I think the issue most persons have in trading smart money concept is actually understanding order block and liquidity. Personally, I think that's it. See, a lot of persons know the market trend, but they don't know how to mark order block. And for the fact you don't know how to mark order block, then you are now being induced into the market. I gave a strict warning that day, and I was like, you have no business with this zone. You have no business with this zone. Now, if you look at this point, there was no inducement. There was no inducement. See, now, if this zone is to hold, this is what we want to see. We want to see price move this way, and maybe take out this point, then come back to actually what? That's what can only make this zone a valid zone. You won't get to understand maybe after the class, or maybe when you go through some videos too, you get to actually understand. So looking at this point, this was what? An inducement zone. You have what? This liquidity sitting above. So this is actually what? The actual zone for you to actually what, look at for yourself from. This is what you want to see. And having this zone, this is what you have. Have this as what? Your liquidity. You have this relative equal what? Equal highs that want to see price come back into. So from last week, this is still something we had last week, that want to see price come into this zone forward, continue to the downside. And let's get to look at the chart on the 4 hours. On the 4 hours. And if you look at on the 4 hours, this is what you're seeing on the 4 hours. And what? This is a lot of persons also have issues. They will come to mark what? Let me take this line out. They will come to mark here as what? The other block. And that's why you have to do what? Multi-time frame analysis to actually what? Understand your bias, or to actually what? Get a clear zone to actually what? Take your trade from. I can actually wait a week for my zones to actually what? Play out. So I believe you now get to understand other blocks and where to actually what? Other blocks that we hold, the one that will fail, and the one to actually what? Take your trade from. So I'll be ending it here today with this GU analysis. So on the GU, we are expecting what? We are expecting a sell on this GU. On SO we are expecting a sell to our other block I marked, and a buy before we go up. That's if we get to mitigate the buy first. So if we get to mitigate here first, then we'll be expecting a push to the upside. But if we mitigate this one, this supply first, then this one will be invalid. So for this, we are just in between, actually waiting to see what price will give to us. Then on USD JPY, there is no trade setup. USD JPY, there is no trade setup. On GBP, we don't have any trade setup. Then we have a Bitcoin. So Bitcoin looks like the only thing we'll be looking at for. Bitcoin is only what we are looking at for to actually what? Take possible trade from. So if we have this to the downside, then we should be looking at for. So this is the only trade I'll be looking at for now. If there is any other setup, that will also be dropped in the Telegram channel. And for you to actually join our Telegram community, just click below on this video in the description. You will see the Telegram link there. It's free, so you actually get to join. So this is all we have for this week. And if you have any issue actually interpreting your chart, you can go through the videos on the channel and what? Use them to actually what? Analyze your chart, open your chart, watch the videos, and that will actually what? Help you to actually what? Understand the chart properly. So our first class will be starting tomorrow, Wednesday, 8 p.m. to 9:30, Wednesday and Friday, for those on this live section that registered on that class. So it's going to be amazing, and try not to miss out. Try not to miss out. You just 1 hour 30 minutes, and it's for free. Beginner to master. So we'll be ending it here today. Before you leave, please do it to like this live section and leave a comment below if you got value today from this section, please. Thank you for showing up. See you again same time next week. Sorry, not Tuesday, Monday. So see you Monday as usual, 7 a.m. and I hope the number will get to increase by Monday. We can do it. If everybody that gets to join this live section gets to repost on their status, gets to share with their friends, and those that are interested in trading, definitely we can be up to 50, and this family will get to grow bigger. And I want to also appreciate everyone that actually subscribed to this channel. I think we are over 500 plus, and I hope that before the year ends, we'll be up to 1,000 on this channel. So we keep growing, and it's all been by what? Yes, support. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, and do have a blessed week ahead. All we'll pray for is just a profitable week. So thank you all for joining, and see you next week, Monday, 7 a.m. For our students, please, 8 p.m. tomorrow till 9:30. We are not starting 5 minutes late. Once it's 8 p.m., it's 8 p.m. The live section will be scheduled immediately today. So nobody have any reason to miss out on tomorrow class. That is our first class. So see us there. Thank you all. Bye.